Hey guys, what's going on? I don't really do these videos, so this is going to be a new experience for all of us. The whole reason I'm making this video was because I checked my Twitter feed and I saw that Nicholas decided to follow me on Twitter. I'm a bit confused about the whole situation, really, because I've said some things on Twitter and I have very open opinions about things, let's just say. Now, some of you might be out there asking, who the fuck is Nicholas? Nicholas is an independent developer and publisher who you probably know from being the one to get Pixel to come out of his cave, pun intended, and port Cave Story to a million platforms. Since then, they've worked on a couple other projects. Probably their most high-profile project of recent time was The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. If you followed that project at all, you might know that it had quite a lengthy development time. Besides that, they've got a few other projects such as 1001 Spikes, Legend of Raven, and 90s Arcade Racer. So, if you read the title of this video, you probably already understand that this video is about Legend of Raven specifically. But the question is, why? The reason why is because I am a big fan of Yatagarasu. And if you don't know what Yatagarasu is, it's an indie doujin poverty third strike clone that came out during Comiket 83. So for this story to really make any sense, you kind of have to go back to when Nicholas and Yatagarasu first came together. And when did these two things come together? All the way back in 2012. You see, at some point around August of 2012, Nicholas began negotiating with the Yatagarasu dev team about the licensing and being able to port it. And at some point they reached an agreement, and Nicholas was to port the game to the 3DS. It's important that you remember that they started development on the 3DS. Now, Yatagarasu is not a game that is very intensive. It's a sprite-based game in a 480p resolution, and it looks like it was made in 1996. That says nothing about the quality of the game itself, but just from a pure graphics perspective, it's very light and not demanding at all. So no problem, right? It's an incredibly low-resolution sprite game. There's no way that could ever have any trouble. Well, as it turns out, for a year after that announcement, a solid year, there was radio silence. We didn't hear anything about this project at all until August of 2013, where Nicholas announces that Yatagarasu will be reborn as Legend of Raven and is moving development to the Vita. Now, when I originally heard this announcement, I really didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, okay, cool, it's something more to add to the Vita collection. There are a bunch of fighters on the Vita, no problem. People actually play fighting games on the Vita. They could probably do some kind of great online or something because it's a more powerful handheld. It'll be great, right? Wrong! You're wrong! A mere couple of months later, they switched gears again and said that Legend of Raven was going to go to the PS4 and the Xbox One, and the Vita was going to have cross-buy and cross-play. Now, that really doesn't mean anything, but think all the way back to a minute before in this video that you've been watching, and remember that the development of this started on the 3DS. Now, Yatagarasu is not an intensive game at all. You could run it on any toaster. I have no reason to believe that they couldn't have got it to work on the 3DS had they really tried, and there's no reason they couldn't have just got it to work on the Vita. So why would you announce it for just the Vita if a couple of months later you changed your mind and now it's going to come to the home consoles? The only thing I can think of is that they couldn't get it to work on the 3DS, so they moved to a more powerful system, the Vita, and after some time of working on the Vita, they couldn't get it to work on that either, so they had to move to the home consoles. this does not instill confidence in me. If you couldn't get it to work on the handhelds, maybe you're just not very good at optimizing the game in the first place. Are there going to be other issues? And here's where radio silence gap number 2 comes in. This news announcement came, of course, in 2013, towards the end of the year, and I didn't hear anything about this game the entirety of 2014. The only time I ever got to see anything about Legend of Raven again was when I went to E3 2014, and they had it on display at E3. They haven't been talking about it at all, but they had it at display at E3. I'm back! Did you miss me? So, I'm cutting back to the camera so that I can just... There's no way I can visualize this story to you, so I'm just going to talk directly to you. So, at E3 2014, I was just walking around the floor trying to find stuff to look at, and, I walked past the Vita section, and Legend of Raven is right there. And I was kind of confused, because I haven't heard about this game in about, 8 months plus, and I thought, this is what happens every time they stop talking about the game. I thought the game was canceled or abandoned or something, because why would you continue this? So, I guess to further elaborate on the situation, Nicholas got the license in 2012, when Yatagarasu was still version 4.3. During this time, they started an Indiegogo campaign to create a revision of it, an update, a sequel, whatever you want to call it. They were going to update the game, but Legend of Raven was not that. So we had already known for a while that there was going to be this different version of Yatagarasu that was going to be updated with more characters and stuff, a rebalance. It was going to be a different game, but Legend of Raven was not that. So I already kind of went into this thing with a bit of a sour attitude, because I knew that this wasn't going to be the version that I wanted, even when it's done. When this game comes out, it's going to be 4.3. It's going to be outdated when it comes out, because they don't have the license for Attack on Cataclysm. They have the license for 4.3. But whatever. I figured maybe it'll be fun. I'll try it out, see how it is. No big deal. So I go up to the stand and just, messing around with it. It's got a different UI. It's very different. And so I go to training mode because, no one else is there to play with me. No one is sitting at E3's Vita section. Probably nobody there even owns a Vita. I own a Vita. I love my Vita. Vita. So no one was going to play with me, so I just go to training mode. So I pick my main at the time, Jet, it's Dudley. It's just Dudley. But he's kind of easy, so I figured, hey, that wouldn't be too bad to test it out. And so I go to training mode, and here's where the first set of, grievances start to come up. You start to see why the development of this game has been taking so long. And that's because they've been adding their own stages. They've been making new pixel art stages. And, okay, new stages, some people think that's cool, and they look fine, and, stages don't really matter in a fighting game. But at the same time, you're messing with the original game. I didn't buy this, or I'm not going to buy the game for Nicholas's vision of the game. I'm going to buy the game for the Yatagarasu's dev team's vision of the game, what they want the game to be. And I feel like you're tampering with that. I'm not interested in your artistic vision. I'm interested in their artistic vision. And this is kind of the thing that happens when English companies bring over Japanese games. They kind of put in their own stuff into it, and I've never been a fan of that. But stages, like I said, they don't really matter, so you can just kind of ignore that. It's a whatever complaint. It's not a big deal. It was just kind of something that kind of bothers me. So I go to training mode. I mess with my mustache a lot, if you haven't noticed. I go to training mode, and I'm messing around with Jet, and so I'm trying to do just basic Jet B&Bs, which, for the most part, they start off with target combos. And so I'm trying to do this Jet target combo, and I can't do it, and so I'm confused. And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm trying to keep attempting to do it, and I can't do it, and I'm confused, and I don't understand. And so I'm playing it, and I'm just like staring at the game kind of like awkwardly, like, And so while I'm staring at the game awkwardly because I'm trying to troubleshoot why I'm having this issue, someone who was there for, I don't know if they were from Nicholas or from Sony or something, but they were associated with the game at some capacity, and he sees me doing this, and he comes up to me, and he's like, oh, hey, what's going on? Is there anything I can help you out with? I can, teach you something about the game. And then I turn to him and say, well, no, I know this game. I play it all the time. I'm just kind of messing around with it right now. And he says, okay, well, if you got any questions or anything, just let me know. And so I keep going back to trying to do Jet's target combos. One of the most simple things to do in like any game, target combos. You just push the buttons. And so the specific target combo that I'm trying to do that isn't working is, well, I guess I don't know if you could call it a target combo really so much as just chaining light normals, but he didn't used to be able to do this in 4.3. The latest update of 4.3, they gave Jet the ability to chain standing A into standing B, which is very useful for him, but it wasn't in the earlier versions of the game. It was only in like one of the later updates. So I keep trying to do it, and I keep failing. And so I turn to the guy, and I say, this isn't the latest version. And he looks at me like I'm crazy, and he says, well, why do you say that? And I say, well, I'm trying to do this thing with this character, and it's not working. And as soon as I say that, I do it. Okay, that's weird. And so he looks at me and he's like, is everything okay? And I say, well, that was just it. I just did it. And then he says, well, yeah, it should be the latest version of the game. And I was like, yeah, okay. And so I'm even more confused at this point. So I keep messing around with it. And I keep trying to do stuff. And I can't understand why I'm having such a hard time with this. And so I keep playing, and I keep playing, and I keep playing, and then all of a sudden, it hits me right across the face. I can't believe I didn't notice it earlier. I'm an idiot. And what I notice is that when you hit the opponent, the game slows down. Stop. Pause. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. That's unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable. That's like one of the most important things in a fighting game, hitting the opponent. You can't have the game slow down when you hit your opponent. That's the worst thing you could possibly have. Like, that makes everything inconsistent. That makes confirms inconsistent. That makes combos inconsistent. Just everything goes to shit because of this one problem, and it's horrible. And I didn't say anything about it to the guy immediately because it's an early build, things could change, it could get better, I don't know, anything could change. But that just like, wow, now I kind of understand why they needed to change platforms 3 times, because they couldn't figure this shit out. I was baffled at that. How do you even do that? How do you have the game slow down when you hit somebody? Ooh. So yeah, I didn't say anything about that right away, but wow, that woo. And so of course after that point, I'm trying to do everything much slower, and things are starting to come out more consistently, but wow, what a stupid problem to have. So, you know, I'm trying to do things slower, and it's really awkward because I'm trying to do the same timing that I did on the PC version, and it's just, that's not gonna work. And so I kind of feel like at this point, between the D-pad and slowdown, I can't play Jet. I basically end up giving up that. I can't play this character because this is impossible. So what I do is I go to my secondary character, Juzumaru. You know, he's easy. He's Rekka's. Normal Rekka. No problem, right? So I go to the character select screen, and I pick Juzumaru, and so I'm messing around with Juzumaru. This video was really long, I really gotta speed this up. So, I'm trying to do just, you know, basic Rekka stuff, no problem. And then I noticed something else that's really weird with this game. It doesn't start counting the combo until the third hit. Why? Why would you do that? The third hit? Why? And so I actually do turn to the guy about this one, and I say, why does the combo counter not count the combo until the third hit? And the guy, man, oh, bless his heart, I don't have any negative opinions of this guy at all. It's really not his fault. But the response that he gave me was, well, wouldn't it be annoying if every time you landed 2 hits, a combo counter popped up? And I was just... How do you even come up with that? Like, I don't know if that was his line or if that was his marketing's line or whatever, but what? Wouldn't it be annoying? No. Okay, so now let me explain why that needs to not be the case. So, like, God, in the PC version of Yatagarasu, like, I think it's in arcade mode with the fancy combo counter. That shows you a hit at 1. The first hit, it pops up, and some people really complained about that. It's like, oh, every time I hit somebody, the combo counter pops up. Oh, it's so annoying. You know why they did that? You know why that's a thing? You know why the combo counter shows up at 2 in most games? So you can confirm, so you can look at the combo counter and realize that you've actually landed your hit and can confirm into damage. That's why that exists. Like, there's a reason for that. And to remove that is removing the ability, well, not entirely, you could look at the animation, but you're hindering the ability to confirm. If somebody used the combo counter as a confirm for damage, you can't do that anymore because you've changed it to 3 hits instead of 2 hits. And so basically, that's like another example of them kind of putting their own things into the game. You're tampering with the original game. They put that thing there for a reason. It was intentional, and you're messing with it. Don't do that. So, I'm trying to do my Juzu stuff, just Rekka. Normal Rekka. So I do Crouch D, which is like a crouch medium kick poke, crouch heavy kick. So I do Crouch D, Rekka, and Super comes out. Now, to break that down, Juzumaru's Rekka is quarter circle forward punch, Rekka, and he has 2 supers, both of them are on kick. So how did that happen? So I tried again, Crouch D, quarter circle forward punch, Super comes out. Okay, Crouch D, quarter circle forward punch, Super comes out. What the fuck is going on? So, I tried doing crouch heavy punch. It's like this like punch, like crouching thrust punch thing, and that's really good. And I tried doing that into Rekka to see if they changed the motion on the super or something. And no, Rekka comes out then, so I'm just like confused. What the hell is going on? And then I think about it, and what I do then is crouch heavy punch, quarter circle forward kick. He doesn't have a move on quarter circle forward kick, but I wanted to see what would happen. So I do crouch heavy punch, quarter circle forward kick, Rekka comes out. So what this means is that the input interpreter is taking the button you used for the normal and is storing that as a negative edge so that when you do another input, it gets the button from the normal. Not the button that you're supposed to end the thing with. Like, what? Sufficient to say that doesn't exist in the PC version. I don't think it ever did exist in the PC version. I don't know how that happened. And so, man, like, basically at this point, I have a laundry list of issues. And so I call the guy over, and he's like, yeah, so, you know, what's going up? And you know, what's going on? And so, you know, I just tell him, and it's like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I'm just like breaking everything down. The game slows down, the combo count is wrong. There's this weird input interpreter issue. And then the guy, you know, he just has to look at me and he's like, you know, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm not a part of the dev team. I'll forward your response to them, thanks for your feedback. And so I'm like, yeah, great, awesome. And so, you know, I sit there and I play it for a bit more, and I'm just depressed. This is like, this port's a travesty. It's just bad. It's bad. And sure, this was E3 2014. It's been a year and like 3 months since that happened. It could have gotten better, but man, just that was such a horrible, horrible showing. So now that I've done the E3 wrap-up, I guess, of The Legend of Raven at that point in time, there's been more information pretty recently since that has happened. In typical Nicholas fashion, there was about a year of dead silence and no one talking about it. But now there's a bit more information coming out. They've posted screenshots on Twitter, and it's more of the same. More of the problems that I had of the E3 build. They keep doing the same problems. I mean, there will be some people who will look at this and think that this version is great, that this is the version that should have been the original version, but I think those are for superficial reasons. So, I mean, what they've been showing off in the screenshots is, you know, new stages. They put a background on the character select screen, and the most egregious is that they converted the game to widescreen. They didn't put sidebars on it, they converted the game to widescreen. Well, congratulations, you've completely changed the game. It's no longer even 4.3, it is now Nicholas's bastardized 4.3. You can't just make a game widescreen. You're changing the balancing entirely when you make these decisions. You change how much room you have to run away. You change the strength of moves. If something goes half screen in 4x3, when you change that to widescreen and you don't change the height of the characters or the length of the stage, you just straight up add a widescreen stage, what you've done is you've made this move that went from being half screen to being quarter screen. You've nerfed the range of this move by the merit of the aspect ratio. They designed this game in 4x3 for a reason, to be more reminiscent of old school games where things were a lot closer together and you had to be next to your opponent. You couldn't easily run away. It was about space control, preventing your opponent from reaching a certain spot on the stage. By making the game widescreen with no changes to the gameplay, you've ruined that. So why did I make this video? At the beginning, I said it's because I'm a fan of Yatagarasu. And that's true, but the real reason I made this video is to just plead. Don't buy this game. I'm not one to often tell you to not support a fighting game or not support a developer, but please don't support this. Don't support the ruinization of Japanese games, or any games for that matter. No one should have the right to do this kind of thing. I mean, on top of that, not only did Nicholas ruin this game, but they sat on this license for 2.5 years now? Going on 3 years? They sat on this license for 3 years. It did nothing. The game was done. It was finished. All they had to do was port the game. If it wasn't going to show up on the 3DS, fine, port it to something, but the game was finished. All you had to do was port the game, and they didn't. For 3 years, they didn't port the game. And this is in typical Nicholas fashion. Now, again, earlier I said in the video, if you were following the Binding of Isaac development time, that took an incredibly long amount of time. And if that game wasn't so high profile, I doubt they would have got it out the door as soon as they did. I bet it would have taken just as long as this did. But the fact that so many people were waiting for that game, they really had to crank that one out as soon as they could, while everything else that they work on just gets set on the fucking back burner. Look up 90s Arcade Racer. Look at when that game should have came out and see that it's still not out now. And just like The Legend of Raven, they don't talk about it. They don't give you news or updates. They just go silent for like 8 months at a time, and you're just wondering what's going on. I would like to support this game, but you make that impossible to do. So please, don't buy this game. Don't support Nicholas. Don't allow this to happen. Please, if you want to buy Yatagarasu, buy Attack on Cataclysm. It's on Steam. It's great. It's updated. The balance is great. It's what the original developers intended. Just support that, please. So that's basically the purpose of this video. Please do not buy Legend of Raven. If you want to buy Yatagarasu, buy Attack on Cataclysm on Steam. I understand that there are some UI quirks, let's say. The game is incredibly dated looking, but please support original developers. Support the original intention of the game. I don't want Nicholas to think that what they've done with this game and other games is acceptable. They do this with almost everything that they work on. Everything's always got this incredibly delayed schedule, and there's never any news about it. I can't support this, and I really wish other people wouldn't as well. That is the purpose of this video. I know I've rambled about this topic for way too long, and if you've stuck through the entire video, I greatly appreciate you. Spread the word. Make sure people understand what this game went through and what the original developers are trying to do with their game and what the original developers had to suffer through. They tried to get this game on console 3 years ago. That's why they went to Nicholas in the first place. And in 3 years, their sequel came out before Nicholas ported the game to consoles. Don't let Nicholas do this. They can't keep doing this.
You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it! He won't.